One thing I really like about this series is that most characters really stand out. I've mentioned that before. To make a character stand out, they have to own some sort of unique personality or motive. These are all wrapped in their themes. Tails is the young sidekick who hopes to be as cool and fearless as his best friend. Knuckles is unsure about everything, but ultimately wants to fight for what is right. You get the point. Based on these character descriptions, you can easily pick out which character is which. With the large abundance of Sonic characters created throughout the 2000s, you had to wonder if it would ever get stale. Would the Sonic franchise go beyond its creative limits of making captivating characters that would work with gameplay? Tails, Knuckles, and Amy were perfect with this, which is why I believe we see them the most. Not only is their relationship with Sonic close, but their personalities are very distinct, and they carry different abilities that work well with the series. The only sort of oddball one is Amy, only because we don't really know her signature gameplay. In Sonic Adventure, Amy was very slow, couldn't spin dash, and relied very much on her hammer. In Sonic Advance, she plays like a typical Sonic character, but again uses her hammer primarily to attack. In Sonic Adventure 2, she's slower than Sonic, but has most of his abilities. Heroes, she's an almost exact clone of Sonic, as were the other Speed characters. In Sonic 06, her speed takes a major hit, and she plays completely different. Even turning invisible. Why does she do that? Now, what I'm doing here is pointing out her inconsistencies, but I guess you could say the same for most characters over the years. Tails definitely took a hit after Adventure, as Knuckles did after Adventure 2, but for whatever reason, they didn't seem as unfocused as Amy. Amy just seemed like the exact opposite of what people expect out of Sonic gameplay. She didn't jump into enemies, she was slower, she was just weird. And to this day, the most fun and Sonic Amy has ever played, in my opinion, is Sonic Heroes, where she's a direct clone. What sets her apart in the game is her hammer tornado thing, which is actually fun to use. It also just hurts that Amy, up until Sonic Adventure 2, was the only controllable female character in the series. Most people did not enjoy playing as her in Sonic Adventure, her breakout 3D game, or even Sonic R. She was terrible. Come Sonic Adventure 2, we have Shadow and Rouge. Shadow is exactly what you want him to be, a cool counterpart to Sonic that has his own flair. Rouge, same thing, a nice contrast to our favorite Echidna. But with Rouge and Sonic Adventure 2 overall being such a different route for the franchise, it wasn't the game to give us a female character that portrays Sonic's core gameplay. Speed, cool, extreme, neither Amy or Rouge had that. Nor did they need to. It wasn't their character. It'd be silly to force that into their persona when they didn't need it. It's why Amy and Rouge are great characters. I don't know if the general public even cared about this or thought of it, but the Sonic franchise would go almost 15 years without a female character that could parallel Sonic, or wasn't held to typical feminine traits. The sexiness and sassiness of Rouge, or the very youthful, naive, lovesick girl that is Amy Rose. Maybe Sega was just saving their too cool female for a future installment, and had planned it all along, which is totally fine. Only work with what you can fit, and 2005 finally granted just that. Enter Sonic Rush, a Nintendo DS exclusive that had a lot of interesting things going for it. I can recall the hype surrounding the game around its release and not caring about it too much. Perhaps this was because it was a handheld game on a console I didn't own until years later. But yeah, it was just kinda there. The most interesting part for me wasn't the gameplay or anything, but the new character. She just looked different. She didn't have a girlish smile, her outfit wasn't overly feminine. I had no reason not to be interested in this newcomer. Blaze the Cat. Already, I like the name, her design. Now, how did she play? I come to find out that she's definitely fast, and it was different. Granted, Sonic Rush introduced the boost we see nowadays, but we also never saw Amy go that fast, or do any of this. Already, Blaze was defined as a unique character. First character other than Sonic that could boost, first character with freaking fire powers, my god. First character not of Sonic's dimension, and the first character with a royal background. And yes, I know Tikal, but recurring playable characters. Like I said, it's almost impossible to not want to play as someone like Blaze. It's rare that you'll find someone against her placement in the series. Her backstory does borrow elements from other characters, more specifically Sonic's best friends. Her future role is to guard the soul emeralds of her dimension. As a child, she got teased for not being able to control her powers. Sounds similar to how Knuckles guards the emeralds and how Tails was teased for being different. In Sonic Rush, we get a chance to see her grow as a character. Starting as a rival figure to Sonic, not concerned with friendship or true power, to a fully realized Blaze, aware of those who helped her get there. This even reveals a super form for Blaze, which not many characters get. You either have to be in Sonic's best friend circle or just the coolest. So much effort was put into Blaze for this one game to where it's so hard to not see her having a future. She even says that her and Sonic will meet again. Perfection. The perfect way to hook people wanting more. People that will now appreciate what this character brings to Sonic. The speed, the diversity, the style. Blaze in a lot of ways is a unique approach to creating a female Sonic character, while still using elements that worked for the best characters. Blaze along with Sonic Rush were some of the best things to happen for the franchise in 2005, granting a definite future for both. The amount of possibilities here were grand. We have another Shadow, aka someone who rivals Sonic in skill, but has her own flair and style. Where will Blaze go from here? Will she go 3D? Will she get a solo game like Shadow? Sega has to do something with her. This made her next game all the more exciting. Sonic 06 is universally agreed upon as a historically bad video game, but for a lot of fans, myself included, there were so many reasons to be excited for it. What sold me was the inclusion of all of our favorite characters. I didn't pay mind to how it all would come together, I just thought Blaze being in the same game as everyone from Adventure 2 was pretty cool. We get to see just how awesome she is in 3D and HD alongside everyone else. And yeah, she plays just as great as you'd think. For 06 standards, so I guess not that great, but great, you get what I'm saying. Tons of people consider Blaze to be the best character to play as in the game. She's fast, just like Sonic has a homing attack, and a few unique moves for added style, driving the point home that Blaze is the epitome of likable. But like most characters introduced in this franchise, they either get screwed over in some weird way or their potential is never realized. In the game, Blaze is paired with Silver, this new character introduced for the game. This ultimately changes the backstory of Blaze, placing her in the future rather than another dimension, in order to give her a reason to be there. I remember this being very controversial with people, but some of this does make sense. Sonic 06 was a bit of a reboot, so some characters got complete makeovers, new abilities, or changed story-wise. Since Rush was also released a year before this anniversary game, the damage was less painful. You can't expect everyone to connect with Blaze solely based on the release of Sonic Rush, which was a Nintendo DS title. It's like how a ton of people probably thought Cream the Rabbit debuted in Sonic Heroes instead of Advance 2. Admittedly, I thought that as well when I first saw the Heroes trailer. Wasn't too huge on the Advance games at the time. 06 is that huge push, that major spotlight to bring a new character into. If they wanted to change her backstory, this was definitely the time to do it rather than many years later. I'm looking at you, Sonic Forces. It certainly didn't have to happen since it was a fine backstory, but again, she needed to fit the narrative somehow. It could be argued that her story is the same from Sonic Rush, but she somehow ended up in the future, but I don't know, man, that doesn't make much sense at all. She even does that thing Shadow did in Heroes, where you think he might still know Sonic, but he doesn't.
Blue hedgehog.
Whatever, I just like to think that this was a one-off plot that did not happen. However, because the creators had to rely on Silver being the next big thing, Blaze kinda just gets pushed over in the shadows here. And fine, that's the way the game was designed. But it doesn't change the fact that her presence doesn't feel necessary. And I think a lot of it has to do with the story change. The whole time you're just like, why are you here? In some ways, Blaze is there to build Silver as a character. She's there to make their relationship meaningful. Her sacrifice at the end is only proof of this. So when I leave 06 altogether, ignoring just how flawed the actual game is, It's pretty upsetting knowing Blaze was one of the most confusing, almost unnecessary parts for the game. She was basically a Tails. I never felt like Blaze had her scene. Her one huge moment was her leaving the game. In so many ways, Blaze just felt like an afterthought rather than the breakout 3D appearance many were hoping for. This is very tragic for so many reasons, not even just for Blaze, but for everyone. Because of how poor the game was in pretty much everything but music, so many things got cut from the franchise. So many possibilities were shattered this very moment. Though Blaze was fortunate to get a Sonic Rush sequel where her native gameplay returns once again, even taking place in her world, which gives us even more of a reason to grow towards her, it would be the last time ever. While Rush Adventure was met with mostly positive feedback, the 3D titles were not as fortunate. It just couldn't get worse for characters like Blaze. You could tell Sega was saving a character like Blaze for a good reason. She was an automatic hit. Without Blaze, Sonic Rush would certainly not have the same vibe, replayability, or substance in my opinion. Some may think she was just introduced at the wrong time. I tend to disagree. Blaze was brought into the series perfectly, I believe, but one title just screwed it all up for her. What's sad is that we'll probably never know the full potential of Blaze, the first and only female character to rival Sonic, and she wasn't even playable in the Sonic Rivals games. Black Knight somewhat did her justice, putting her character in the plot, but it wasn't the Blaze people care for. Blaze has just as much relevance as Vector the Crocodile, and that's what bugs me. She was built to be more than an Olympic slot. In many ways, she felt like the third hedgehog that was anticipated before Silver came along. When I think of Blaze, I don't think of her as too much of a downfall, but more of an unfortunate situation. At this point in Sonic, I don't think the creators really know how to implement anyone that's not classic Sonic, because even Knuckles and Tails get this treatment. If they do bring in Blaze for her long-awaited 3D experience, they probably have to bring in everyone else. Like, the gap is just so long that everyone wants their character in the game, so I don't know if Blaze will ever get that. From my point of view, don't kill me on this, Blaze is a better and more deserving character than Silver, and should have gotten stronger spotlight in 2006. Her super quick lifespan in the main line hurts every single time I think about it. She fits the design of the 3D series perfectly, and I'd hate to see her one and only shot be one of the worst games in Sonic's entire catalog. You might be thinking I'm some sort of Blaze fanboy based on all I've said, when truthfully, she's not even my favorite female Sonic character. That goes to Amy. Though I pointed out a lot of her inconsistencies, Amy is an example of an iconic, charismatic, memorable character. But they're both very different, really all of the female characters are, and I think that's pretty cool. If there's one thing Sega gets right, it's making each character different. I understand how difficult it can be to put all of them in newer games. It's why Forces is doing Generations 2.0 by bringing everyone back in some way. They don't know how to make them play, but if they put them there, it'll do something. Definitely not the way I prefer them to handle it, but that's how it is. I wanted to create this journey in an effort to remind people of how cool Sonic's first female rival / parallel truly is. I know a ton of people like Blaze, and they certainly have many reasons to.